Good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's City Council meeting. We're certainly pleased to have everybody here tonight. It is Tuesday, January 20th, and we'll start our meeting by introducing you to your City Council.
Council members Erpenbach?
Yes, here.
Jameson?
Here.
Karski?
Yes.
Kylie?
Here.
Rolfing?
Here.
Staggers?
Present.
Anderson?
Here.
Erickson?
Thank you so much. In Sioux Falls, we start our City Council meetings with an invocation. And we're so blessed to have Dr. Ron Tottingham back from Empire Baptist Temple. Just understand, he just came in from Washington, D.C. to do this for us again. And thank you, Doctor. We're certainly pleased to have you here. What we'd ask you to do is to stand for the invocation and then remain standing for our Pledge of Allegiance. Dr. Ron?
Just a privilege. Thank you again, having been in Washington, D.C. and visiting the Wounded Warriors Memorial as a VIP and seeing all that. And then I thank this city for your sidewalks and all the things you vote for those kind of people, handicapped. Thank you for that. Our Father, thank you tonight for the honor that you've given us to live in a city like this. And for those folks that are here tonight who have to go through all the different things to manage a city like this, we pray that you bless them very special tonight. You just wrap them up, give them guidance and leadership and all the things that they do. There's a lot of the rest of us who don't sit around these tables who have to live under the umbrella of the decisions they make. And I pray that you'd give them the grace to make the decisions for the best of all of us. And we'll thank you for that in Jesus' name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. We'll now move to our consent agenda. Council, any changes, motions to the...
Move for approval, Anderson.
Second, Erpenbach.
Councilor Anderson Jr. has made a motion to approve our consent agenda, seconded by Councilor Erpenbach. Any discussion? Very good. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
That has passed 7-0. Thank you. Now our regular agenda. Council, any changes to that? Motions?
Move to approve, Karski.
Second, Kylie.
Councilor Karski's made a motion to approve our agenda tonight, and seconded by Councilor Kylie. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Thank you. That has passed 7-0. Folks, again, welcome to tonight's City Council meeting. Certainly pleased to have you all here. This is a great opportunity for you to engage the council on any topic that you'd want. All we'd ask is that you just come forward, introduce yourself to the people of this city, and if you could keep your comments to 5 minutes or less, the council would certainly appreciate that as well. Welcome. Would anybody want to speak? Welcome, sir.
Good evening. Mayor Hugher, distinguished council, I thank you. It's my honor to be here before you tonight. My name is Dan Fritz. I am an attorney with the law firm of Lindquist and Venom here in Sioux Falls. I represent MedStar Paramedic Ambulance Service, who most of you I'm sure are familiar with. I represent MedStar with regard to the appeal that it filed relative to the RFP process and the contract that resulted, or the recommendation for contract that resulted from that process. I know most of you were not at the hearing on January 8th that we held relative to that RFP process and contract. Councilman Karski did testify at that, but I don't think he was there for much of it. It was about an 8-hour hearing. I want to make sure that this council and mayor are familiar with the nature of the allegations contained in the appeal, as well as what we believe to be the ramifications if a contract such as the one that we believe is being proposed is entered into. I have with me the appeal papers that we filed. That in 5 minutes it's very difficult to do this. This would be the best mechanism to learn as much as you can about our position, and so I will leave these here for you. Please feel free to take one and read through it. In a nutshell, the hearing itself dealt primarily with the RFP process and why we believe it was an unfair process, why we believe it was an illegal process. I want to speak, because of the time constraints, I want to speak more to why we believe that this contract that was, or the recommendation for the contract, why that contract would be illegal if it were to be entered into by this council. The city acts, it can regulate, obviously, commerce within the city, but only to the degree that the state legislature authorizes it to do so. That's per the South Dakota Supreme Court. In the case of ambulance service, the state legislature has authorized the city to enter into contracts for ambulance service, but there are limitations on that authority. It's not unchecked. The first limitation that is very important here is the state legislature only authorized the city to enter into contracts for emergency medical services. The contract that we believe is before the council, or will be, is not just for emergency medical services, but for non-emergency transports. That's a key distinction. The legislature, in its wisdom, did not give the authority to municipalities to enter into contracts for non-emergency transports for this reason. Non-emergency transports are transports between hospitals, nursing homes and hospitals, private individuals' homes and nursing homes, things such as that. Private entities moving people around for non-emergency purposes. The city has no more authority to tell those private entities who they can and cannot contract with for non-emergency services than they can tell them who they should use for their plumber, their electrician, or anything else. That should be for the private sector to decide who they feel can best deliver that service to them in the most efficient manner. Legislature did not give the authority to the city to enter into a contract for those purposes, and it should not, would be my recommendation. Another reason why that contract would be illegal is that state law prohibits any contract that is in the furtherance of a monopoly. How strongly does the state legislature feel about this? It's in the Constitution. The Constitution of our state prohibits monopolistic behavior. The legislature made it a felony for anyone to engage in any conduct that is in furtherance of a monopoly. That's how strong the legislature feels about prohibiting monopolistic behavior. This is a monopolistic contract. Now, the legislature does create exceptions. There are exceptions, and they do allow, in certain circumstances, for monopolistic behavior to occur. For instance, utilities. There's a specific statute that says certain utilities are exempt from the anti-monopoly statutes for good reason. Garbage service. The legislature has said that municipalities can enter into contracts with one or more providers for garbage service. That leaves it open for municipalities to create a monopoly if they wish. They did not create that exception for ambulance service. It says nothing about one or more or one. It says you can contract with for the provision of ambulance services. Absent that specific exception, we believe it would be in violation of law to enter into a contract that provides an exclusive franchise to anyone for the provision of ambulance services. So I believe my time's about up, and so I will wrap it up with a strong urging that this council take a extensive look at our documents and give due consideration to foregoing the recommendation from the RFP process and to limit any contract for ambulance services to just emergency services. Thank you.
Dan, thank you very much. And council, that was a little long, 6 minutes and 10 seconds, but I thought he was giving good testimony. Really appreciate it, Dan.
All right, thank
you.
You
bet. Great job.
I'll leave these here.
Thank you. We appreciate that. Thank you. Citizens, anybody else want to engage the council on any topic, please come on forward. Welcome. Come forward, please.
Good
And my name is Jay Major, President and CEO of Midstar Ambulance in Brandon, South Dakota. Been in business for 15 years or so. And we have most of the contracts in the city right now that leave the city. The reason that we're here tonight is because we've been told since this whole process has begun that we can't talk to you, that you shouldn't be involved in this process. And I find that to be appalling myself as a business owner, that I can't talk to my council members about issues that are of this magnitude. You know, some of the things that were very concerning, which we had to go through the whole process in order to stand here. If I wouldn't have gone through the process that I didn't agree with, I couldn't stand here and talk to you about it. But we went through the process. And, you know, some of the things in the process that were real disturbing to us is that, you know, when the J. Fitching Company made this recommendations to the council and the city, they gave full authority to the health director to move points around. For example, if somebody won, they didn't have to win because she had the authority to take points from point A and give it to point B. The health director had the authority to stop the process at any time. She had the authority to pick the last place person and not the first place person. So, you know, our first thought was, why did we have a committee at all if that kind of power was put on one person to be able to choose? The second thing is as my attorney stated so well, you know, as I sat in the meeting, in the very first meeting we had, some of the things were is they wanted to limit anybody from coming into the city of Sioux Falls as far as doing business. But the company that got the city of Sioux Falls to do business was energized to go out and compete against me in the county. So as I can't compete against them with private business in the city of Sioux Falls, the city was giving them the authority to come out and compete with me in the county. And here's the importance of that, guys. It's very simple. I lose about $200,000 a year providing 911 service out in the county in the city of Brandon. I make that up with my transfers and the business that I do. And I make that up with my transfers. I could live a happy life and not do 911, but my neighbors wouldn't be very happy that we have a 3-minute response. We've saved a lot of lives. So I'm very passionate about what I do. I'm very passionate about my business. And sometimes I speak out of turn because of my passion, and which is why I've hired counsel to speak for me on a lot of matters. But, you know, I think I was told by the provider that you guys, or that the health director had picked, that if they were me, they would protest. And that says some very serious things to me. I've worked too hard, you know, to become where we're at today in our business. The other issue that I think you need to know as city commissioners, then I will sit down. I'll give you one more issue.
You've got plenty of time, Jay.
All right. One thing that really was bothersome to me is we're not contract writers and I'm not attorneys. And I didn't have anybody write my contract for ambulance business. We did it ourselves, me and my director of operations. We wrote our own contract. It wasn't as pretty as those big billion-dollar companies, but it had a lot of good information in it. We may have misspelled a word, as the health director so obviously put it at the hearing that we had, and it may not look pretty, but the content was real. We had letters of recommendation from every major facility in this area. Every major facility we had letters of recommendation from. The VA hospital, besides all the rest of the recommendations, we have an exceptional rating with the VA hospital. We do business with the state penitentiary. We do business with both hospitals. We have both flight contracts in this city. The only things that we don't do at this point in time are the things that we are legally not allowed to do. We get calls weekly, monthly about doing transports from nursing homes to hospitals. We've had to turn those down. And we don't feel that we should have had to turn them down, but because of the way things are done right now, we have to turn those down. My point is, I'm not saying that we should have got the contract. I'm saying that the RFP process should have been more fair. It should have opened the doors and been more fair. And we don't have time to get into that now. Some of that is in these packets if the commissioners so choose to read it. My point is, I have not been able to talk to any of you, and I've made a few phone calls to find out that I can't talk to you, that the counselors have been advised not to speak about the ambulance issue, and I personally find that appalling. And Mr. Mayor, that's why I haven't been in your office. I know I stopped in once to say we were going to have a press conference. That was so that you could hear what we had to say. We canceled that press conference. All we're asking is that this council sits back and takes a good look at the whole process. We're just asking that this be fair and that we look in our backyard as well as across the street when it comes to the services we're looking to provide in here. And by the way, I will make one more comment. All of the monies and all of my investors are right here from Sioux Falls. And when they put the money into my company, their comments back to me were, we don't care if we get paid back. because we know you'll do a good job. We were the low bid, by the way, in that application process. And I think that our services speak for themselves. I think if the due process was done and phone calls were made, they'd have found that we have a great service. We may not have a $100,000 computer program, but our services, our patient care, our timely response, our vehicles, our equipment is top notch. And I ask that the council please take a look at that before we make a recommendation. And don't let the threat of, hey, we won't have an ambulance come May, don't make that be a threat to you, because I promise you, you will have an ambulance company come May. Don't think you have to do something in haste because of that maybe idle threat that you might get. So if there's no questions for me, I'll sit down, and I appreciate your time. First time I've gotten to speak to you about this.
Jay, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Mayor?
Yes, Councilor Kern.
Mr. Major made a comment. I think it's important that our city attorney probably address why the council cannot receive communication on this matter. Please.
Thank you. Again, Jay, thank you very much, Council. Jay was just at about 6 minutes, so again, just gave him plenty of time. Councilor, or
Counselor with an S, yes.
exactly.
Well, Mayor, this is an open request for proposal process. The no contact rule is always in place when there's a pending open RFP. This RFP process is still open at the time, and also it is the granting of a license is what the law would call a quasi-judicial act by this body. And as of the Hansen versus Minnehaha County case from October of 2014, our state Supreme Court said that the evidence that you hear has to be in an open public meeting. So that's why you have been advised repeatedly throughout this process, councilors, that this is a quasi-judicial process and it is an open pending RFP process. So there is certainly no intent on your part to defray any input from certain people over others. It's just that's the way the law is and the rules we have to operate on.
Thank you.
David, thank you. Councilor, thank you.
Can I ask a question of Dave?
Sure. We're still in, folks, we are still in the public testimony time, public input, so.
But relating to this.
Councilor Staggers?
Okay, yes. Okay, Jill Franken has selected the winner in the RFP. Now, can we just talk to anybody we want to or not?
Counselor, at this point, she's made a recommendation and the notice of intent has been issued. However, the quasi-judicial act will be done by this body, so no, you cannot. Any input you get, Counselor, has to be in an open public meeting. That's the law.
Okay.
Very good. Is there anybody in the audience who wanted to speak to the council on it? Please, welcome, sir. Good to have you here. You're welcome. Sure, if you'd just introduce yourself to the people of our town, please. Thank you.
Mayor, council members, thanks for giving me a few minutes of your time. My name is Darren McDonald.
Hi, Darren.
I was here in front of you a couple months ago to describe my experience with the city in regards to my dumpster enclosure at 2200 East 10th Street. I appreciate the progress the city has made in complying with its own ordinance. Okay. I'm still looking forward to driving down West Russell Street and looking over to the arena and the Howardwood field houses being in compliance someday, but we're making progress. It's been brought to my attention that there is going to be a first reading of proposed changes tonight to certain ordinances. I don't quite know how these procedures work, as far as if any of you have seen any of the proposed changes already before tonight, or if it'll be the first time. I mean, I have the one I'm questioning on my phone. I don't know if we can get it up there at all on the screen for everybody to see. But it is the ordinance that I'm questioning, or one of the ordinances that is going to be proposed for change is ordinance number 160.485, landscape standards, and then subsection C, the screening of the dumpsters. In my opinion, the proposed changes in this ordinance directly benefit the city. Two of the changes being added is the verbiage "from view of the street right away." That's going to be added to it. And then taken away is going to be not requiring a gate anymore. The questions I have, how does this affect city parks? Was the omission of with a gate put in to bring Terrace Park up to compliance? Our alleys, road right-of-ways? And the other question I have is, what about prior businesses that have been forced to comply with the original ordinance? To put my gate alone, the cost of my gate and installation alone were $500, and now we don't need a gate, or that's gonna be one of the proposed changes anyhow. When I was here a couple months ago, I don't know if I conveyed to you how I was made to feel like a criminal by the city when I was taken to court for my fines, but I definitely was. I felt like a criminal. I'm a small business owner, but I was taken to court for something that I was trying to get up to compliance with. But I don't feel like I was ever given a chance to appeal my first fine, and for that, I don't feel a $600 judgment against me is even legal. But besides that, the reason why I ask about the changes benefiting the city is because most of the city dumpsters are not in view of the street right away. You can't drive down the street and look into the park and see them. Like Arrowhead Park, you drive way in there, and I bring my family out there for our Christmas pictures this year, and what do I see? Big red dumpsters sitting there. And it's kind of like, it's not very pleasant to look at, when I've been, like I said, made to feel like a criminal. And some of the other parks have multiple dumpsters where it doesn't even make feasibility to put gates in front of them all, I don't want to make the garbage haulers' jobs impossible. When you got 8 dumpsters in a row, do I think there should be a gate in front of every dumpster? Of course I don't. But I was made to put one up, and at a great expense, And for a small business struggling to stay open every day, I just wanted to comment, and I appreciate your time.
Darren, thank you very much. No, great job. And Darren, too, if you would, just leave your, in fact, we've already got your information. Mike Cooper or someone from Planning and Zoning can give you more detail. There will be a first reading of which they'll just talk about the topic, and then there's a second reading. The second reading, there's an opportunity for public input. All right. So stay tuned. Great job. Thank you, Darren. No, great job. Thank you. Folks, anybody else want to engage the public or the council? Welcome, sir. Good to have you here.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Bobby Dean Tate.
Bobby Dean, thank you.
I'm a member of the South Dakota African American History Museum. And I'd like to thank you for all the participation that you gave us. I'd like to thank the Washington Pavilion for inviting us into their family to share these historical events together. Their love and kindness is what I believe Reverend King wanted us, for all of us, to love and live together in harmony. Reverend King had a dream that we would walk together hand in hand, side by side to the promised land. Reverend King saw the light. Being blessed with this gift of love, he carried this light through times of darkness, just as another did 2,000 years ago, the King of Kings. Now is our time to stand together and let us shine the light for the future. We have a dream at the South Dakota African American History Museum to continue to restore our history and shed light for the future. Again, I want to thank everyone here. Thank you.
Bobby Dean, thank you as well. Appreciate that. Anybody else want to engage the council on any topic? Well, thank you so much for being here tonight. We do appreciate it. Council, I'm going to move on to item number 18.
Item 18 is a new 2015 packaged liquor license for Holiday Station Stores Incorporated, Holiday Station Store number 304, to be operated at 5000 North Cliff Avenue. Item 19 is a special one-day malt beverage and special one-day wine licenses for Catering America Incorporated, Chef Dominique's Catering, to be operated at Avera Long-Term Care Pharmacy, 3820 North Potsdam Avenue, for a ribbon cutting on January 29th, 2015.
Good evening, Jamie Palmer with licensing. Item 18 is a request to for packaged liquor. They currently have a packaged malt license, but they want to be able to sell liquor. The applicants are present if you have any questions for them. The security management plan was submitted and reviewed by the police department, but it was a very large file, so I was unable to forward it on to you, but it was approved by the police department, so.
Thank you, Jamie. Council?
Move to approve, Karski.
Second, Rolfing.
Thank you. Councilor Karski has made a motion to review these items, seconded by Councilor Rolfing. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers? Anderson?
Yes.
That is passed 6-0. Item 20.
Item 20 is a second reading and ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota rezoning property at 4805 East Linden Lane from the RD1 Twin Home Duplex Residential Suburban District to the C2 Commercial Neighborhood and Streetcar District, petition number 1960-2014, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls.
Jason Bieber here with Planning and Building Services. The applicant and owner of this property is Gerald Berg. It is located at 4805 East Linden Lane. The size of the parcel is roughly 0.74 acres. And the purpose of this specific application is to redevelop this site along with the one to the west and construct a future retail commercial development.
Thank you, folks. It's a second reading, so you can actually talk about this with the council. Anybody want to? Very good, council.
Move for approval, Anderson.
Second,
Rolfing.
Councilor Anderson Jr. has made a motion to approve this item, seconded by Councilor Karski. Is there any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Council members Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski? Kylie?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
That is passed 7-0. Thank you. Item 21.
Item 21 is the first reading to set a date of hearing and second reading for Monday, February 2nd, 2015. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the 2013 Shape Places zoning ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval.
This is an application by the City of Sioux Falls Planning Department. It's an ordinance to provide some corrections and edits to the Shape Sioux Falls zoning ordinance so it can be implemented correctly. And I'll run through some of the brief highlights of the edits that we are proposing. First, we're proposing to reorganize some of the bulk regulations for the above forms. We are looking at modifying the full-service restaurant spacing requirement in the RE6 form, which predominantly is used in the downtown area. And that will make it more consistent with on- and off-sale alcohol within that form. We are proposing to add the RE5 form, which is retail of unlimited size, and the MD3 form, which is apartment residential high density, to the pedestrian-oriented PUD zoning district. We are looking at modifying the screening of dumpsters in the outdoor storage section to make it more consistent with our enforcement standards. And finally, we are looking to edit the buffer yard requirements to allow screen fences as an option instead of the berms that are required.
Jason, thank you. Council? Councilor Staggers.
Yes. Can you respond to what Darren said during his presentation, during that 5-minute session, about going out into the parks and so forth? And this is not going to apply to some of the dumpsters in our parks? The screening.
Nope, the proposed ordinance is essentially just cleaning it up for our enforcement standards. I know the gentleman had talked about gates. Why we took that out is it was because it was redundant. A dumpster enclosure needs to be fully screened with an opaque fence or wall, so that includes a gate. So that won't change any of the requirements. We also added that from the view of the street right-of-way. We felt that was something that needed to be added into there to help with our enforcement from the zoning office.
Yeah, but once again, we want to try to screen it from being viewed from the right-of-way because it doesn't look good. So if you're in a park and driving around a park like Arrowhead or wherever you're at in a Sioux Falls City Park, and you can see these dumpsters in the park and they're not screened, wouldn't it be advisable to screen those so they don't look undesirable in a park?
That's something we can look at. With this ordinance, we are proposing just to do it from the street right away, and that's not necessarily because of our city parks. It's for all businesses, parks, any kind of area within the city.
But what I'm saying is, before the second reading, have an amendment or modify it.
Sure, we can look into that.
Okay, because we're going to vote on it next week, I assume, aren't we? No, February 2nd, yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
And Counselor, you can also propose an amendment at that time, of course.
Yeah, but it'd be nice, for, for them to go ahead and do it. They have the expertise.
Move to set the date of hearing and second reading for Monday, February 2nd, 2015.
Is there a second on that?
Second, Karski.
Thank you, Counselor Karski. I really appreciate that. Counselor Anderson Jr. has made a motion to set a date of hearing and second reading for Monday, February 2nd. It has been seconded. Counselor Urbanbach?
Thank you. I'm hearing, Jason, I'm not only hearing it from Counselor Staggers, but I'm hearing it in my ear here too, that the dumpster thing is going to be one way or the other. If we've decided that we're going to change the rules because we figured out it's too hard to do, then we need to treat our citizens equally. And so that's an issue. So hear that and see the heads nodding while I'm saying this. Hear that dumpster issue being a big deal to us and that it will get amended out if staff doesn't do something about it. The other question I have, or I have two other questions actually, if I might. One is define what is unlimited size retail. What is that? What would that be? And why are we doing that?
Currently, the RE5 form would allow retail above 75,000 square feet. What this is really coming about is the Lake Lorraine pedestrian-oriented PUD. We feel that with these PUDs, we have the ability to go to Planning Commission and with their initial development plans, look at their specific development. They're requesting to do some retail above 75,000 square feet. So as a staff, we feel like that's an okay use within this pedestrian-oriented PUD to allow that larger retail. We did add a section within the standards for initial development plan to make sure that we keep those pedestrian connections. We felt that it was very beneficial. If we're going to add this higher retail and this larger apartment residential uses, we wanted to make sure that they are maintaining those pedestrian connections within this PUD, essentially, pedestrian-oriented PUD. If we didn't allow that form, then what they would do is just rezone a section of it out of the pedestrian-oriented PUD to, say, C4 to allow this big retail, and then we feel like we're going to lose our control with the pedestrian connections and to make this whole development work together.
Okay. One more, if I might, Mr. Mayor. The other one that caught me was changing, and again, you've just given us sort of that 1,000-foot level, but talk about why we would change the berm option to a fence option, and would there still be the distance? I mean, the thing that I liked about the berm, and I walked through Shaped Places in all those committee meetings, the thing I liked about the berm was it required space. A fence doesn't require space. That hints to me that I could bump things up more closely. Can you talk about that reasoning, please?
The buffer yard distance will not change. The berm still had to be in the buffer yard. If there was a 20-foot buffer yard, you had to have the berm. If you want to do a fence, it still needs to be that 20-foot buffer yard. What we were running into is a lot of the developers working with the neighbors, working with themselves. There was a lot of times where the berm just wouldn't work. And so they would go to Planning Commission for these alternative site plans to do the fence instead of the berm. So as a staff, we said, well, if we're going to approve, if Planning Commission is going to approve these site plans, why not just add it as an option? And we feel it still allows the same screening and same buffering to do a fence or a berm, either or.
So it would be an either or situation?
Yes.
I'm not, okay.
So like one of the examples, like in a level B buffer yard, we're proposing you can do a 4-foot berm or a 6-foot screen fence. Previously, you could just do a 4-foot berm. So we feel it gives them the option to do the fence instead of the berm, which seems to be more of a thing that the neighbors want and the developers want.
I guess I could see it as a drainage issue. Building a berm might run into.
We have run into a lot of that. Last month we had an alternative site plan that was because berming in the back will not allow the drainage to go the way it's supposed to go.
Okay, good. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Good job, Councilor Rolfe.
Thank you, Jason. On the
RE3, changing that, allowing, what I'm hearing is that you want to allow more than 25,000 square feet to be available under RE3 with this change, correct?
No, that's,
Okay.
we're not proposing that. Are you referring to the amendment to the pedestrian-oriented PUD?
I'm looking at my notes on this, in the second part where it says, or is that a continuation from no? Where it says, street is less than 25,000 square feet. Parking-oriented retail employment is less than 25,000. RE5, regional retail, unlimited, and MD, where RE5 now is limited to a 0 setback. Well, what I'm concerned, let me put it this way, what I'm concerned is, when we get this, is that we're saying, okay, for the Lake Louise thing, we're changing this ordinance to allow some bigger stores into this area. Why wouldn't that come down, instead of changing the whole ordinance, why wouldn't those then come down as individual conditional use permits under this form of zoning, rather than change it now for everybody going forward? I think something like that makes more sense.
We're not really changing the ordinance, we're changing what forms are allowed in zoning districts. So what we're trying to do is add the RE5 form to a pedestrian-oriented PUD zoning district. That's what we're proposing with this. We're not proposing to change anything with the RE3 form.
But if you don't allow it before,
Yep, but we would.
or allowing it, wouldn't
Sure.
that be a better way to do it, is with a conditional use permit, to come to us and say, here are the specifics on this one, because they don't match up with this particular thing that we're seeing. It's a unique thing. That's exactly what a conditional use permit is for, so that we don't go around changing it for one or two situations. I guess that's my concern here. We've just got this thing going. Let's not change so much right away that we, somewhere down the line, we'll have to change it back again, like we're looking at doing here with the garbage thing. Does that make any sense? I'm just directing that that's going to come up. You might think about it.
Okay.
Councilor, thank you. Councilor Karski.
Jason, is there a reason why this has to be done by February 2nd? Is there something
No,
that's
there
on-
isn't a reason. We've kind of just, with the stance in the planning department, we've said that every 3 months we would like to do ordinance amendments, and then wait 3 months and do rezonings of properties that we feel were a mistake, and then come back in 3 months and do ordinance amendments. So we're doing them twice a year. So there's nothing here that needs to be done by February 2nd. They're just things that we're trying to keep updating this before, busy season comes along. We'd like to get them through and get them approved and effective before construction season.
Okay. Personally, and I'm looking around the room at my fellow councilors, and I'm seeing a lot of kind of questions on faces, and it's a lot for us to get our minds around without probably even having it at an informational meeting where you could bring this to us so that we could probably have a little bit more discussion and understand. I mean, these are major changes, and it is a change to the ordinance. I am going to make a substitute motion to change the date of second hearing to Tuesday, March 3rd, so that, and have you bring this to us at an informational meeting so that we can ask more questions.
Second, Anderson.
There's been a change to the original motion to set the date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, March 3rd, 2015 at 7 p.m. to allow for more time. It has been seconded as well. Before I go to the vote, did you have any comments, Councilor Jameson?
Thank you. Councilor Karski did pretty much get the message across that I wanted to get across, and I think that's fine. But one other question I did have, if I could, the issue on the dumpster enclosures. Does the City of Sioux Falls have any of these that are out of compliance today?
With dumpster enclosures, I think we've had some in the past. I'd have to check with the zoning office to see which ones that they have out of compliance with dumpsters.
We should certainly know if we have any out of compliance before we change this. I understand it takes a lot of time, and the seasonal efforts that can get done, it's hard to construct some things in the winter, but I think we should know that before we move this along further. Thank you.
Councilor Stingers.
Yeah. Darren told us he was fined $600. Is there anybody in the city that's fined $600?
I wouldn't know those things. I'd have to check with the zoning office.
Does anybody know? Anybody's fined?
I would say we're probably not fining ourselves for violating the
I would
dumpster ordinance.
agree with you. Yes, I agree, yeah. So I think one should wonder, should we be fining him $600? We're not fining ourselves or somebody being held responsible in the city.
I know I would, if I may.
Yes,
I
Councilor
would appreciate that
Wolfen.
information, maybe the numbers and that kind of thing, when you bring that to the informational meeting. Find out how many have been fined and for what reasons, et cetera, and maybe we can look at it at that point.
Sure.
There has been an amendment to the original motion, a substitute motion. Thank you, David. Appreciate that. To set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, March 3rd for item 21. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison? Karski?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
That is passed 7-0. David, does that take care of it? Thank goodness. Item 22.
Item 22 is to set a date of hearing and second reading for Monday, February 2nd, 2015 at 7 o'clock p.m. for first reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at the southwest corner of East 26th Street and South 6 Mile Road from the AG Agricultural District to the RS Single Family Residential, Suburban, and CN Conservation Districts, petition number 2045-2014, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval.
The applicant and owner of this property is Ronning Companies. It is located at the southwest corner of East 26th and South 6 Mile Road. The size of this is roughly 80 acres. And the purpose of it is to construct a single-family residential neighborhood.
Move approval, Rolfing.
Second, Karski.
Thank you, Councilor Rolfing. Thank you, Councilor Karski. I'd like to set a date of hearing and second reading for Monday, February 2nd for this item. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
That is passed 7-0. Thank you. Item 23.
Item 23 is to set a date of hearing and second reading for Monday, February 2nd, 2015 at 7 o'clock p.m. for first reading. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at 2024 South Main Avenue from the RS Single Family Residential Suburban District to the RT1 Single Family Residential Traditional District. Petition number 2052-2014 and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval.
The owner and applicant of this application is Gregory Hintgen. It is located at 2024 South Main Avenue, which is on the corner of Main and West 29th Street. The size is roughly 0.21 acres, and the purpose of the rezoning is for the applicant would like to construct an addition and a garage on this corner lot, which is a smaller corner lot, so it poses some issues with his proposed expansions.
Move to set the date of hearing.
Second, Karski.
Thank you, councilors. Appreciate that. Been a motion to set a date of hearing and second reading for Monday, February 2nd for this item. A roll call vote, please. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'd just like to ask one question.
Please, Councilor,
Jason,
go right ahead.
am I reading this right in that the garage is going to go right up against what street, Main, Phillip, or the back or the yard of the next door neighbor to the east?
They're required to have a 5-foot setback. I think this drawing obviously is not to scale, so he's just showing specific that where the garage is going, but I believe they have to have a 5-foot setback.
Okay.
Councilor Mike, did you have a
Yeah,
question?
I just wanted to comment, this is one of those properties that's in the core part of the city, and the zoning regulations are a little bit different there because the lot sizes are so weird in some cases, and so that's part of the beauty of shaped places, is that folks can do that and make it more traditional. So.
Thank you. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Thank you. That is passed 7-0. Item 24.
Item 24 is set a date of hearing and second reading for Monday, February 2nd, 2015 at 7 o'clock p.m. for first reading. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at 1624 South Doodler Drive from the RS Single Family Residential Suburban District to the RA1 Apartment Residential Low Density District, petition number 2055-2014, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval.
The applicant is Eric Wildson, and the owner is Rod Fitz. It is located at 1624 South Doodler Drive, which is northeast of the East 26th Street and South Sycamore Avenue intersection, just to the west of the Hy-Vee. The property currently has a tennis court on it that's in disrepair. The purpose of this application is to construct a small parking lot on the south side of the property and to get the split zoning off this particular lot. This parking lot will require a level A buffer yard on the north side to buffer it from the existing single family. And I did a little graphic here that shows that the majority of the parking lot is actually on the site that's already zoned RA1. Just a small little portion plus the buffer yard is actually the area that they're looking to rezone.
Move approval, Rolfing.
Second, Erpenbach.
Councilor Rolfing has got a motion to set date of hearing and second reading for Monday, February 2nd, and seconded by Councilor Erpenbach. Councilor Jameson.
Jason, were there any objections by the neighbors?
Yep, I was going to mention that. We did have several neighbors show up to the Planning Commission meeting with some concerns. Most of their concerns had to do with the existing conditions of the parking or the apartments to the south, which this will be a part of. They had concerns on garbage around the lot. They also had concerns on traffic and different things like that. That was kind of what they had come on. I would expect them to probably be here for the second reading.
Thank you.
Councilor, thank you. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Thank you. That has passed 7-0. Item 25.
Item 25 is to set a date of hearing and second reading for Monday, February 2nd, 2015 at 7 o'clock p.m. for first reading. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota rezoning property at 1600 and 1608 West Russell Street from the C2 Commercial Neighborhood and Streetcar District to the C3 Commercial Community District, petition number 2057-2014, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval.
The applicant and the owner of these two properties is Charles Brennan. This is located at 1600 and 1608 West Russell Street. The size of this parcel is just under 2 acres, and the purpose of this rezoning is to construct a retail building larger than 25,000 square feet.
Councilor Jameson stepped out for this particular item. Any questions, motions?
For approval, Anderson.
Second, Karski.
Councilor Anderson Jr. has made a motion to set a date of hearing and second reading for Monday, February 2nd, seconded by Councilor Karski. Yes, Councilor Buck.
Just one quick question. I think I know, but tell us, Jason, what's the zoning on either side of that? I know you had it up there for a minute. No, it's not.
Yep, it's all C2 commercial.
C2 now.
Yep, and then to the north is some industrial properties, and then to the south is the Sheraton Hotel and the Event Center property.
Right, good, thank you.
A roll call vote, please.
Council members Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jameson? Karski?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
That has passed 6-0. Thank you. Item 26.
Item 26 is to set a date of hearing and second reading for Monday, February 2nd, 2015 at 7 o'clock p.m. For first reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota rezoning property at 4804 and 4808 South Louise Avenue from the RD2 Town Home Residential Suburban District to the C2 Commercial Neighborhood and Streetcar District, petition number 2058-2014, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval.
The applicant on this particular case is Raquel Blount with Lloyd Companies. The owner is Beatrice Hansen. It is located at 4804 and 4808 South Louise Avenue. The size is roughly 0.77 acres. The purpose of this particular application is to redevelop the two lots into a multi-tenant retail center similar to the center that's existing on the corner of 57th and Louise just to the south of this property. A level A buffer yard will be required along the north side and a level B buffer yard on the east side of this particular property.
Thank you, Jason. Councilor?
Just curious, access. Are they going to have one access into that parking lot too? I mean, has that been discussed?
We have been working with engineering on their access. I don't think anything's been approved. They're showing 2 accesses onto South Louise Avenue. I'm not sure what engineering's going to allow them, but I can get you that information for second reading.
This wouldn't be a right-in, right-out only type of...
Yeah, that I would have to check with them on that specifically. I don't believe the other one has right in, right out on the corner. I'm not positive on that, but I will check with traffic engineering and get you that information.
But on the corner, it's easy to go a couple different directions. Yeah, if you don't mind, a little more information on that one. Move to set the date for February 2nd. Persky.
Second, Anderson.
Thank you. There's been a motion to set the date of hearing and has been seconded. Councilor Bach.
I just was going to say, I think there's 2 driveways on that, the one on the corner. Isn't there one on 57th Street and one on Louise?
Yes. On the corner lot, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So this would be different. I'm agreeing with your right in, right out thing. Just saying.
Thank you. Yes, Councilor Anderson Jr.
You talked about buffers. You said to the east and the south, but did you mean
north
the
and
west?
North and the east side.
What about to the west?
West is the existing, like Spezia, the large commercial, right? The large commercial development to the west, so they wouldn't be required a buffer yard along there.
Councilor, okay, very good. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Thank you. That is passed 7-0. Item 27.
Item 27 is set a date of hearing and second reading for Monday, February 2nd, 2015 at 7:00 p.m. for first reading. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota rezoning property east of North Cliff Avenue and south of the Burlington Northern Railroad tracks from the I-2 Heavy Industrial District to the RT1 Single Family Residential, Traditional Recreation, and RA3 Apartment Residential High Density Districts, petition number 2056-2014, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval.
The applicant here is Ryan Reet. The owner is Chip Carlson and Harold Gooden. This is located east of North Cliff Avenue and south of East First Street, just south of the existing railroad tracks. The size is roughly 16.4 acres, and the purpose of this particular application is to construct a multifamily, single-family development with a park in the middle. As you can see by this concept plan, the west portion of this lot would consist of 3 three-story apartment buildings. The center would consist of a privately maintained park, and then the east side they would construct some single-family residential, roughly 43 lots.
Jason, thank you.
Move to set the date of hearing, second reading for Monday, February 2nd, 2015.
Second, Rolfing.
There's been a motion to set the date of hearing and has been seconded. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
That has passed 7-0. Thank you. We do have some USF students in the audience. Welcome, USF students. Good to have you here. Anybody else? Just good people. Councilors, a motion to adjourn? Yeah. Oh, I'm so sorry. Councilor Anderson Jr.
I do have a couple
Please.
questions for our city attorney. Number one, with the public testimony earlier, that information we should not take. Am I correct?
Can I get back to you by tomorrow morning, Counselor, on that?
So
I
we'll
was
let our,
not aware they were going to bring some documentation, so thank you.
so
for the question.
will you take that information then and,
One of your
or have
staff
our
can
clerks take it and
The clerk can take it.
we can hold it? Okay, and then in your explanation of the lawsuit that's going on, as far as the council being able to get information, one of the things you stated was that it could only be in a public forum. But yet, we were not, I guess I just want to bring this up, is that we were advised not to go to that public forum meeting, though. Am I correct?
Yes, Counselor.
I just wanted to make sure that that was on the record.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
But
Councilor
can
Staggers?
we now have a public forum? I mean, if we're going to deal with this issue in the upcoming months, I mean, we have to have some information. And can the city council
Councilor Sagers, you want to ask your question, and then David can try to answer it?
Yeah.
What's your question, sir? And then David will try to answer it.
My question is, the city council, really, we have to know something about this ambulance issue, and we can't be kept in secret. I mean, we have to know if we're going to make a good decision. So can we have a public forum where we have the people come before us? The process is already working itself out.
Yes, sir.
Oh, we can have a public forum?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, Dean, can we have one in the future?
Are you suggesting a working session for the council, or more than an informational meeting, or are we talking?
Well, I think we should have all the parties available so we can hear from them and then ask questions of them and so forth. Yeah.
And when we do the resolution accepting the contract, don't we have that opportunity?
But, I mean, this is something we should be thinking about weeks in advance, not just, you know, on the
If I
spur of
can
the
join
moment.
in, would it be a good thing if we spoke with the city attorney, the leadership, and tried to see what the best forum would be to
We'll
share
do that at our
information?
Friday meeting.
That's okay.
We'll take care of it there.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes, Councilor Bach.
I just want to understand how the city council, how we think as a city council we're going to participate in this court case. All we get to do is vote on the contract eventually when it's on the agenda, right? I'm just not understanding the conversation. That's all I'm.
Well, I guess number one is that it's going to come to us as a resolution. So we're only going to have one time to really, it's going to come in as an ordinance?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought it was going to come as a resolution. Okay, so we will have some time. So after the first reading, we will be able to, and that's why I said, we just wanted to make sure that the information that was used, that Director Franklin came to her decision, was going to be available to us before we vote on this. And right now, we've had absolutely no information, and except for director's recommendation. So it's just basically asking for information to the process that was done and came to the resolution that they came to.
Councilor Chair Karski.
I guess I'm going to say that we're not doing anything out of the norm that we would with any other first or second reading, and that, you know, we have a process we follow. We have bids for contracts all the time. There are lawsuits frequently with these types of things. I mean, it happens. We're not party as a council to those lawsuits. We get a chance to approve a contract, a first and second reading of that, and ask questions at that time, but we're not party to making a decision on the lawsuit. So we're going to follow our normal procedure when we go about this.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Karski, thank you. Councilor Bach.
Right, just one more comment, because I'm concerned that Jill Franken is getting thrown under the bus here. She didn't do this by herself. She didn't do this in some sort of vacuum. You know, there was a committee that was involved with this, and so I'm concerned again that we just kind of throw these things out there because someone came and talked to us for 5 minutes. We just start to make assumptions, and the public hears all those assumptions. Understand Jill Franken didn't do this by herself, and that this is not some sort of nefarious thing going on. I just want us to kind of chill on this. I'm concerned about the perception.
Councilor Stagers.
But it's also important to keep in mind, this is not really normal, what's going on. We can't even take these packets right now.
Talk to the Supreme Court about that.
Yeah.
It was a Supreme Court ruling in October of 2014 that's keeping us from being quasi-judicial and having that input. It's not Dave Fifley making this up.
Anyway, still, this is not normal. That a city council cannot take a look at a packet like this. It's just information that's their point of view.
And
something's
I don't disagree with that.
I just also want to add in is that David and I have had several conversations about making sure that we were going to be able to have access to the information. So I think that's basically now, if we allow leadership to set up a forum in which that can happen properly, I think everything is good.
In my 4.5 years, I've never ended a city council meeting like this. I find it very unusual, but it is what it is.
We do think and we do business here, so.
Hallelujah.
Move
Council,
to adjourn.
Thank you.
And Anderson.
Thank you so much. There's been a motion to adjourn. This meeting has been seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This meeting is adjourned, Sioux Falls. Make it a great, great night.